Welcome to Willow Waves, a student-produced podcast that brings together young minds to explore and discuss current events and topics that connect all of us.
Tune in to our podcast to join us on this exciting journey of learning and discovering.
Welcome to GZM Behind the Scenes. On this podcast, we talk about different podcasts of award-winning podcast company GZM shows. For our first episode, our topic is 6 minutes. We will go into the details of the behind the scenes and even get an interview.
Yup, GZM Shows is a multinational company that has followers all over the world. They're giving smiles to you listeners everywhere. So go to their website, gzmshows.com, and hear the whole story.
Like we said, today we're diving into 6 Minutes, which is an award-winning podcast for families and ages all around the world. The story has a very amazing plot with amazing characters like Holiday, Cyrus, and Birdie. Listen as Holiday bonds with her siblings after floating in the icy waters of Juneau, Alaska, and surviving.
Cyrus, the Anders family's oldest child, rescues her from the water and takes her on board the whale-watching boat that they were currently on. They rush her to the hospital, only to find out she has no memory. The family goes on many life-threatening adventures to find out about her past, while an admittedly evil villain, Angelica Graves, tries to capture her.
I'm Zahra.
I'm Divya.
I'm Faith, and this is GZM Shows Behind the Scenes.
Here's an interview with David Kreizman, co-creator of GZM Shows.
Hi. And I heard you want me to tell you a little about myself. So I was the co-creator of 6 Minutes and head writer and sometimes director as well. I've been a writer for about 25 years, mostly in TV, and I wrote a book and a bunch of other things. We started making podcasts about 6 or 7 years ago, and 6 Minutes was a show we started 5 years ago or so. We did. How many have you guys listened to the whole thing? I want to make sure I don't spoil anything.
Yes, we've listened to it more than like 17 times.
Listened to the whole
thing. Oh, fantastic!
Like,
good.
what?
Sometimes I meet with classes and I have to write on my hand. Don't say robot. Don't say robot. But that's good. So we started this company making podcasts, and it's been great. And 6 Minutes was a show that when we started, I think the first week we got something like 500 downloads, and we were very happy that more than just our friends and family were listening. And it's now been downloaded something like 150 million times all around the world. And then we've done spin-offs, and there are going to be some books coming out soon. And yeah, we just keep going. So I'm excited to answer any questions you guys have.
When you started recording 6 Minutes, did you think that it would get this popular?
No, we really had no idea. And the fact that it's in schools, that's been the biggest surprise of all. We always imagined, the original idea, honestly, was that it was going to be every day, that an episode would come out every day. And then we kind of had to scale it down to twice a week. But we always imagined that families would listen on their way to school and things like that. And the fact that teachers discovered it, especially during lockdown and stuff, that's been a big surprise. And it's been great. And that people are still discovering it, years after we started making it is really cool.
We found out about 6 Minutes when we had to do podcast recaps. Apparently that's what our teacher calls them. We listen to the episodes and then we have to recap what we heard in them on a slideshow.
That's cool. Yeah, it's great.
Faith became obsessed.
We all did. What is the average time it takes to produce one episode of 6 Minutes?
So we produce it in usually batches of 10. So in the beginning of when we started making 6 Minutes, we would get together once a month to record it. Everybody would come into a studio in New York City, and we'd record 10 episodes at a time. And that would take about 4 to 5 hours, something like that. And everybody would be able to see each other and be standing at a mic, looking at each other. Obviously, there was no sound effects, no music or anything. They just have to, if you're on a hoverboard, you just got to pretend you're on a hoverboard. But what takes the longest, the writing takes a while, obviously, so we'd kind of write those. It would take about a month or so, a month and a half to write the 10 episodes. And then the editing also takes a long time because, like I said, you have to add all the sound. Every sound you hear gets added afterwards. Every footstep, every time someone's opening a door, all of those things are added afterwards. We have a sound effects library that has 100,000 sound effects. So all that stuff gets put in afterwards, and all the music, of course, too. So it's about from the time. So it's probably takes 2 months to do 10 episodes. So you can kind of split that up.
Okay, that's a lot.
Yeah.
So how does this affect your daily schedule?
This is pretty much what I do all day long. We have 6 or 7 shows. We've done 25 different shows now, including 6 minutes, which obviously takes the most time. But yeah, this is, I'm full-time making podcasts, which is great. So it's all different things. So I might work on 5 or 6 shows in a day, but I'm writing scripts, editing scripts, directing recording sessions, sitting in edit where we're listening to shows and making notes and changes and things like that. Meetings where we're talking about future stories. And so, yeah, this is what I do.
Is it fun?
It's a lot of fun. It's first of all, it's fun just to be able to tell stories, but having worked in TV for a long time, TV, because it takes a lot more money and a lot more people, you have to have sets and a big crew and stuff. And so it's not easy to get things made. So, there are many things that I've written and pitched places. You have to get permission basically because someone has to give you a lot of money to make a show. So the best part of what we get to do now is like we have an idea and then we just get to make it. And that's kind of the dream of if you want to be a writer or producer is, you have a thought, and if it still seems good, a couple of weeks later, you start to write it, and hopefully, we could do it as fast within 6 months. Sometimes we have a show ready to go.
So all of us have checked the website multiple times, and we still haven't seen any season 4 come out. Faith was very sad about that. So when do you think it will come out?
I believe we're planning for it to come out. We're going to start recording again next month. We've started to write it already. But I don't think it's going to come out until probably September, I think is what we're looking at. Sorry. But we do have, you may have seen already we have these little teaser episodes. So there's going to be 8, there's 2 Ivan teasers where Ivan explains what's going to happen. And then there's going to be 8 episodes. They're not full 6-minute episodes, although they're almost as long. But it's some of the story of where Cyrus was after he went into the portal in the first episode of Out of Time. So we know he was missing he was in the past for 2 years. So we're going to get to see some of what he did during that time.
And who's your favorite character from 6 Minutes?
Well, I love them all, but I think the most fun for me has always been Brinley.
Yes.
It's fun. It's fun to be able to write someone who says mean things that you'd never say in real life. And then it's also really fun to be able to take this character who seems like she's just, mean girl at the beginning, and then kind of get to learn that she really has a pretty good heart underneath, and learn all these different things about her, and to get to have her and Cyrus fall in love and all those things was a really fun journey to go on with her.
So can you drop any secrets about what will happen in season 4?
Well, we know that Cyrus and Brinley and Casey are back in Germany in 1989. So they're going to have to try to find their way back. And then, we're going to have Holiday back in this season. So Holiday and Birdie and Badger, they're going to be in our time dealing with Jude and some new characters as well.
J.P. Whittier.
Yes.
So, how do you turn an idea into a successful podcast?
That's a very good question. The first step is taking that idea, figuring it out, pitching it around to, the people that I work with, and making sure that they're excited about it too. And then kind of expanding it. You kind of go step by step. So the first step is taking what's just, literally an idea, which there's a girl found floating in the water and she doesn't know who she is or where she came from. And then you start asking those questions of, well, do we know what the answer is? Where does she come from? And who are the other characters? So you figure out kind of the characters. And I always say that there's 2 kinds of writers. There's planners and pantsers. So planner is someone who figures out the whole story in advance, outlines it before they ever start writing scripts. And then a pantser is someone who's kind of writing by the seat of their pants, meaning that they're making it up as they go along. And 6 Minutes, I would say, is kind of a combination of those 2 things. We knew the big stuff. We knew things that were going to happen a few steps along the way. And then a lot of it was making it up as we went on, writing a cliffhanger and not really being sure how we were going to get out of it, which is fun, letting the characters figure it out. So there's a lot of that. And then, so we go from the idea to building the world and the characters, and then kind of writing an outline for the season, and then start writing scripts and casting. So we cast everybody for the most part just by the sound of their voices. We'll send out little scripts to agencies, and then we might get 100 people sending back their version of it, and finding the right person for the roles, making sure they don't sound too much like each other. It's always a challenge in audio. And then we usually record what's called a pilot, which means the first episode of a show. And we learn a lot when we do that. So we'll record it, fully edit it, and then listen to it. So that's how we learn, like, do all the cast members work? Do we have the right kind of music? Do we have the right tone of the show? And then we kind of write the rest from there.
So is 6 Minutes your favorite podcast?
Yeah, I would say it's my favorite. It's the one that we've spent the most time on. It's the deepest. So yeah, I would say 6 Minutes is my favorite. I also really like Remy's Life.
Yeah.
Have you guys listened to Remy's Life?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So Remy's Life, especially because, that was like, it's kind of like a time capsule now, because we were doing it, while the pandemic was going on, and we didn't know what was going to happen. And we're kind of literally talking about one that was writing by the seat of our pants. Like it was like, what happened this week? And then using that as part of the story, what was happening in my kids' lives and in my life and in Remy herself, her life, so obviously some of that wasn't real, but a lot of it was pretty real. So that also has a special place in my heart.
So did you always know Holiday was going to be a robot?
Pretty close to always. It was not like from the very, very beginning. There was a moment where we thought, oh, maybe she's just a wit kid. But pretty soon into the writing, we realized, like, oh, that's too easy. You know that already. It needs another twist. So I would say within, writing the first 10 episodes, we knew it. And then the question was, how long can we hold it for?
How many times do you go to New York to record?
Year.
Yeah, so we did it. I mean, over the course of 204 episodes, it was 20 times, something like that. Well, what's happened since then is that a lot of the cast is in college now. When we started, they're basically the age that they were. They were 13 or 14, and now they're in college. So we've had to do a lot of remote recordings. Badger is in California, and Casey is in Michigan, and Cyrus goes to school in New York, but it's very hard to get everybody together. So we get as many people together as we can. But then some people have to record like in their house, in their dorm room, or we send them to a studio by themselves. So it's an extra challenge of trying to make sure everybody sounds like they're in the same room together.
Do you have any trophies?
I do. Can you see them back here?
Oh my God.
Oh, that's a lot.
I have some Emmys. I have Writers Guild. I have Peabody that we won for Mars Patel.
Mars Patel.
The first podcast.
Yep. That was the first one we did. So yeah. And something's nominated. We're nominated this year for what's nominated? Nightingale, I guess. I think is nominated for something.
My sister watched that one.
Oh yeah.
I have not watched it yet.
You no?
I've watched most of them, but not that one.
No.
No, it's a good one. It's good.
Yeah.
I do say so myself.
So how did you come up with the idea of like a robot / wicked girl that just was found floating in the water with amnesia?
Well, 6 Minutes started differently than most of our shows because it started with the idea of the format, which was short episodes. We had done Mars Patel and a couple of others that had 10 episode seasons that were like, 15, 20 minutes long. And so we had this idea of like, can we do something, like I said, where it could come out every day, and it would be short. So it started there. And then I just thought like, well, what kind of story could sustain that for a long time? And I knew it had to be a mystery. And then I just had that idea, and it was a little bit based on, I don't know if you've ever heard of the Born Identity, which kind of is a little bit like that, a guy who doesn't have his memory and goes in a very different direction. But that was kind of the idea. And the first thing I ever wrote, I wrote like a 1-page story of it, and it was called Holiday. Before it was called 6 Minutes. That was the name of the show.
Cool.
So why is the show called 6 Minutes?
Because
it sounded better than 5 minutes. I don't know. It just sounded good. It sounded good. And then we came up with the idea of like the 6 minute, when she gets shut down for 6 minutes. So we kind of knew that was going to come up. It would be part of the story too. But what's funny is that like the original idea was that every episode would be between 6 minutes and 6:59. So it would really be 6 minutes long.
Yeah.
And we worked really hard on those like first couple episodes. We were like cutting and all that stuff. And then as soon as it showed up on the podcast app, they rounded up to 7 minutes, and it just said 7 minutes. And we were like,
Oh, no.
So then we didn't worry about it. And then, as you know, some shows were 5 minutes, and then the finale's 52 minutes or whatever it is.
Yeah, it's long.
Yeah.
I think I feel like the out of time ones were like 10 minutes or something.
Yeah, they definitely stretched. Well, part of that was because we had to, you kind of had two stories going on at once. We had, half the cast was in Juneau and half the cast was at Elixir Key. So to be able to fit them both in was tricky to get done in 6 minutes. Yeah. Kept trying to keep it shorter, but it's not so easy.
Are you coming up with any new podcasts soon?
Yes, we have a few new shows coming out. We have a new. Did you guys listen to the Natureverse?
Yeah, I listened to
Mother
that.
Nature. Yeah, and Keeping the Reaper. Yeah, so Father Time is going to be coming out in a little while. Mm-hmm. We have a show called Discovering Dad that's coming out pretty soon. And then a few other things coming out too. A show called Hidden Island about a family that gets shipwrecked on an island. It's kind of cool. Yeah.
So, like, what number podcast was 6 minutes? Like, what time did it come out after the others?
I think that we had done Mars Patel. We did a show called The Ghost of Jessica Majors. We did, it was probably like our fourth or fifth podcast that we had done, something like that. Yeah. Yeah. And we learned a lot in making it. I think doing it that much, we just figured a lot of things out about sound effects and what works and what doesn't work. And so it was a good learning. I think you can kind of, even though episode 1 is great, I think, the longer it goes, the better we get at everything.
In like a normal episode, like how many takes do you have to do for like one scene?
It depends. We try to go all the way through, and sometimes we do. And if it's great, we'll move on. Usually we'll do just do it twice maybe, and then we'll go back. And if there was a line that we needed to redo, we'll do that. They'll go through it, and then we'll stop and talk a little bit and say, "Oh, can we do this one again? Go a little bigger, go a little, or you missed this word," those kinds of things. The hardest is always, one of the things we also do is we do what's called pickups. So after we've edited the show, we may realize that there's lines that we need to add, or a lot of times the action scenes too are really hard to script because you just don't know. So extra screams and running and breathing hard, and we'll put our own voices in there as a scratch. Where that's the fun where I get to be like every character, and then when we record with them next, then they replace those lines, and so we can always. That's the other good thing, is that we can always fix stuff. It's very easy to do.
It's not easy for us. We have to record like the whole thing.
Yeah. I'm not an actor, although I do play Ivan. I am the voice of Ivan.
We just got a robot-generated voice.
Oh yeah.
Can you give us some advice about making podcasts?
Yeah, I mean, my main advice is just keep making stuff. The more you do it, the better you get. If you don't feel comfortable sharing it right away, that's totally fine if you're just doing it for yourself. But just keep coming up with ideas, and the more you write, the more you produce, the better it's all going to get. And also, don't be afraid to rewrite. Every script that we write goes through 3 or 4 passes, and every time it gets a little bit better. So editing, giving each other notes, taking ideas from everywhere, all those things are helpful. Anything that's going to keep making it better.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for being great fans. Good luck. And if you have any other questions, feel free to reach out anytime.
Okay.
Bye.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Good luck.
That was amazing. I nearly cried. Nothing like talking to the co-creator of 6 Minutes, the world's most downloaded family audio drama in history.
6 Minutes is the best, and more is coming out in September. Yay!
Now everyone should go and listen to some 6 Minutes.